Alright, so today we're going to talk about section 1.4 out of the book on functions. So we're going to start with the definition. A function f from a set D to E is a correspondence that assigns to each element of x in D exactly one element of y and E. So guys, a basic thing you need to understand is that each x is assigned to a y, but y's can have multiple x's. So x's cannot repeat, but y's can, and that means it's a function. So there's different ways you guys are going to see functions. You're going to try to analyze them from graphs. You're going to try to analyze them from tables. And so here's an example of those. So in this first case with the table, we have this input of 2 and the output of 11, and another input of 2 and an output of 10. So that cannot happen in a function. So it's asking you if it represents a function of x, and this is a no, and it's because x's repeat. So each x has to be unique. Y's can repeat, but x's can't. And if you look at the graph here, do the x's repeat? For this ordered pair right here, the x is -2. For that ordered pair right there, it's -1. For this ordered pair, it's 0. For this one, it's 1. And for that one, it's 2. So that would be a function. So this is a function. Okay? So again, x's cannot repeat, y's can. Okay? Alright, sorry about that little technical error there. So vertical line test, it's used to determine if the equation is a function or not. So vertical line test, you put a vertical line anywhere on the graph, and it should only hit the graph once. So a vertical line can only hit the graph of a function one time. Okay, so any vertical line that's stuck through the graph anywhere in any location should only hit the graph one time. So just two quick little examples here. Y equals x squared. If I took the time to graph this on a calculator, y equals x squared is a parabola, generally looks like that. So anywhere you stick a vertical line through that graph, it'll only hit once. If you stick it right there, it only hits once right at that spot. If I stick it right there, it only hits once right at that spot. Even where it gets really steep, it still only hits one time in that location. The next one, x equals y squared. If I was to graph that, that would be a kind of sideways parabola, looks like that. And if I stick a vertical line here, well, it doesn't even hit the graph there, but more importantly, if I stick it right there, it hits 2 times, one time there and one time there. So is it a function? This one is a yes, because it passes the vertical line test, only hits one time. And this one is a no, because it fails the vertical line test. The second example is a no. So that's just basically to tell if it's a function or not. It's the easiest thing to tell if it's a function is the vertical line test. That's always the easiest way to do it. And just really quickly running back up to the example that we did earlier, that would work really well for this example right here too, because you can see that if I draw the vertical lines in here, it only hits 1 point at a time. And if I was to just really quickly sketch the graph of this, 211 would be there, 210 is there, and again, that would fail the vertical line test. So that's why this one is a no. Okay, so vertical line test is by far the easiest way to know if something's a function or not. Domain and range. So this is very, very important for this class. So we're going to use domain and range, more specifically domain, for this entire course. So make sure you know what domain and range are. So the domain is the set of all possible input values. Set of all possible input values. So sometimes functions have different things than x's and y's, but usually we talk about x's and y's, so these would be the x's. But it could be any input. So it doesn't have to be x's if the variables are s and r. Okay, it's whatever the input variable is. So the range is the set of all possible output values. Okay, and again, generally, we're talking about the y's. Okay, and then just a little bit about function notation. Function notation is written like this. It's f parentheses x, but you don't say it f parentheses x or f times x. You say it f of x. So you guys have probably seen function notation like f of x equals 3x plus 2, something like that. There's going to be some function here, but that's called function notation. And again, you say it f of x. So finding function values, plug in whatever you see for your function, plug in the x in all the x spots. So what I mean by that is here we have f of 2, so that means 2 would go in for all your x's. Next example, we have f equals root 2, that means root 2 would go in for all your x's. And then we have f of a plus b, so that means a plus b goes in for all your x's. So this should be reviewed from Algebra 2, so I'm not going to go through the examples, but they're written right here, okay? So just plug in, here's your function, f of x equals x squared. So the first one, you just plug in 2, simplify and get 4. Second one, you plug in root 2, simplify and get 2. And then this one, you actually have to FOIL or double distribute out to get a squared plus 2ab plus b, okay? So you guys, in general, to find the domain of functions, you're going to look for x values that cannot be 0 in denominator or negative under a square root. So those are two really super important rules to remember. Cannot be, shouldn't be like there, couldn't be 0 in the denominator and no negatives under radicals. So that, I'm going to ask you guys that a million times. What are the rules for domain? And no zeros in denominator and no negatives under radicals. So first things first, does this one have a denominator or a radical? Sometimes they have both. In this case, it's just a radical. So if I can't have 0 or I can't have negatives in the radical, think about on a number line, what's the number that separates the positive numbers from the negative numbers? That number would be 0. So the easiest way to find this is to take 2x minus 3, what's under the radical, set it equal to 0, and then solve for that. So it has to, remember that it has to be greater than 0, so you can set it equal to 0 and say it's greater than, or you can just use the inequality. So I'm going to add 3 to both sides and get 2x is greater than 3, and then I'm going to divide by 2 and get x is greater than 3 halves. So that right there would be your domain, and remember, we don't leave inequalities like this. We're going to use our interval notation. So x is greater than 3 halves means it goes from 3 halves to infinity. So that would be your domain right there. Okay, next one, we do not have any radicals, but we do have a denominator. So if I can't have zeros in the denominator, I set the denominator equal to 0, and then I factor. So I need two numbers that multiply to positive 4, add to negative 5. So that's x minus 4, x minus 1 equals 0. And then each of those factors you set equal to 0 and then solve. X minus 4 equals 0, x minus 1 equals 0, so x equals 4, and x equals 1. So those are the numbers that it cannot be. Okay, so a fancy way to write this is using notation. So the upside down A means all, and then the double bar R means reals, except x cannot equal 4 and x cannot equal 1. Okay, so that would be one way to say it. There's also interval notation, but that one's a little bit goofy, so I would rather just keep it short and say all reals except for x equals 4 and x equals 1. Okay, so next example. Find the domain, the range, the increasing and decreasing intervals of y equals the square root of 49 minus x squared. So the first thing you might want to do on this example is graph it. So I'm going to pull up a graphing calculator here real quick. And graph. Okay, so I'm going to pull up our calculator here, and I'm going to graph the function. So in order to do that, I'm going to hit y equals. In my y equals, I'm going to hit square root of 49 minus x squared. And then I'm going to graph that, see what it looks like. Okay, so from that graph right there, the graph is the easiest way to kind of look at the domain just in general. Okay, so the domain is going to be, let me get my pen. The domain is going to be from here to here. Okay, and where is that? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and it can be equal to 7. So from negative 7, I'm sorry, to 7. Included, because if I plug 7s in here into the function, it'll be 0, which is okay to take the square root of 0. So from 7 to 7, and that's your domain. And then you go back to that calculator. And then your range is going to be from here to here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 also. So my range is from 0 to 7. All right, and then increasing and decreasing intervals. So this is the first time we're going to talk about increasing and decreasing intervals on the calculator here. But if I use my finger to trace, so let me get a different color here. If I use my finger to trace this part of the graph right here, you got to ask yourself, is my finger going up, down, or not at all? So increasing or decreasing. If I trace this part, my finger is moving up all the way to the very top of that semicircle. So that would be where it's increasing. And the interval is from negative 7 to 0. And then you always get a, for increasing and decreasing, you're always going to use parentheses. So increasing from negative 7 to 0, both gets parentheses because it's not increasing or decreasing on a point. And then again, let's pull up that calculator. Okay, so if I'm looking at where is it decreasing, well, if I start at the top of that semicircle, my finger is moving down as I move from left to right. So there is decrease, it is decreasing. So decreasing from 0 to 7. So there's the domain, range, increasing and decreasing. So that's it for this video. I'll make a second part for the following examples. So we're going to go ahead and stop right there.